in Hindu literature, this Kali Yuga is an incredible transition time. It's got some characteristics. It is considered the most unrighteous of times. It's considered a time, as you get deeper into the Kali Yuga, it gets worse and worse and worse until it reaches the bottom. So it's considered a time when, as my teacher puts it, black is made to appear white, where white is slandered as being black. Basically, he says, at the end of such an era, where righteousness and dharma, that means good works, are of short supply, and basically the wolves of the earth have taken control. That this is the nadir, the bottom or lowest point of morality, but that it is followed upon the cycle's completion to the bitter end. It is followed by the most righteous of all yugas, the Satya Yuga, wherein there was this real lack of all basic human values except one. In the Kali Yuga, in the Satya Yuga, it is founded on all four of the supreme values of life. So, it's quite a change. It's the most spectacular change in cosmology that occurs in the Hindu literature. Like, this will be over many, many, many hundreds of thousands of years, if not millions of years. I'm not sure. And here we are going from like the nadir to the top. In the Satya Yuga, wherein the supreme values of love, peace, truth, and right action become once again the guiding values of all humankind. And it brings in a period of peace, prosperity, goodwill, and love towards all creatures. For a period of many thousands of years. I think it's like 6,000, 8,000 years, maybe more. And I must finally say that he has not only described our situation and promised a golden age afterwards, but I know this will be hard to accept for foreigners, as it was for me. But having grown up believing in the powers of Jesus, and then feeling and observing the powers of this person in my life, I came to accept that its wildness, the wildness of his mission, and of this changing of the cycles, was no more strange, actually less strange, than the imminent end of the planet being anticipated. Think about it. The end of this planet for all time. And then people who believe that would think that that going into a new era where people are more righteous could happen. My God! Well, I just hope to God it isn't easier to destroy a planet than it is to love. But anyway, but what my teacher has said is that he has come again at this time to aid in this transition to ensure that the values of Dharma, truth, love, and peace will not be extinguished. And most striking of all, he has claimed, since the time that he started his teaching when he was only 15, that this great mission to midwife this new era of unbelievable goodness is one that he will not fail at, which he says without a filament of doubt, and has said for all these many decades. So that gives me hope. That my teacher says he's here to get us through a rough time, and he says he will not fail. And he shows me powers beyond anything I've seen in any human, and I've only read about in the Bible. Now, it's not something I'm proselytizing to anyone else, but I have to be truthful. It gives me hope. It gives me hope along with the other things I do. It's not a complete panacea, though. Then there are times when it really hits me, despite it all, that not knowing God's mind. I mean, even if what I was just saying before is true, not knowing God's mind, or God's will, or even in the greatest context possible, that of God's mind, if you will, for what even is good or evil, for what is to be desired or feared, to be welcomed or fought. I mean, that's the thing about God. It's so beyond us that how often do we find that what we thought was good, it turns out to be evil, what was good was evil, turned out to be good as we got older? You know? And we found out that what was to be desired really should have been feared, and that what was feared should have been desired. So many things. And so how can we not wonder at any time, no matter how much insight we think we have, how can we ever not wonder, knowing, thinking about God being so far beyond us, how can we not wonder if, well, all we can do is think and ask God to direct our thoughts, because let's face it, we don't have a clue. But I'm not going to go any further into that. That's another long subject. So, when I'm thinking these things, not knowing what's going to happen, and with the odds so overwhelmingly against our success, I found myself crying my eyes out as the reality of it, the most likely scenario, planetary annihilation, plays out before the inner screen. I almost said screen. Wow. Primal slip. Plays out before the inner screen of my mind. I try not to turn away from the horrible knowing of this likelihood become realized, knowing that to be the only healthy or noble thing to do. And so I will watch as all the conclusions are laid out in terms of flesh and blood, the loss forever of so many things so precious and beautiful, deer in spring meadows, the children at play and their laughter, the gatherings, the families, the traditional festivals. So many, too many to say. But all of them wrenching my heart, tearing it up as badly as if I've just been divorced, say, by a wife for 10 years. And, that kind of pain. And have to face that after those 10 years, that all the things beautiful and wonderful about our time together would henceforth never, ever happen again. Of course, the real thing, the planetary annihilation, is more terrible. But this has not happened as yet. Yet it is just as wrenching, for it is like saying nothing wonderful that ever happened to you with anyone, or that ever happened to anyone, will ever be remembered, and will never, ever occur. So that's a little self-disclosure on my part. Take it for what you will. I put it out there as my practice in Vietnam. So, all that being said, when I think that the media is soft peddling this vital truth, as if providing the opium of pleasant reverie to a sick person instead of providing the truth and giving the person the less pleasant and more strenuous options of fighting for one's health, think of that analogy. When I think of them as deciding for us as if we are dying children who think they are being compassionate, when saying those things like, "Oh, you get to be just fine," even as the patient takes the last breath. I think of this as enabling us in an addiction and even covering up the suffering that might get us well. Taking a look at the media in this light, I am offended and feel disrespected, for I am not one who appreciates being pampered and protected from upset, when it means that it will guarantee my death. Do you? For if a great many people don't quickly and radically reverse their lives, and no, I'm not talking Boy Scout recycling efforts, I'm talking about the gearing up in an urgency that would need to be far greater than that of the last World War. I call this apocalypse emergency. I call it like a trillion alarm fire call that nobody's responding to. It would be far greater the effort and the urgency than as we were gearing up to the last World War. It has far greater consequences. How can it not be seen that Holocaust will seem a tea party alongside what's coming?